nerves. Better shake your booties for black girl nerds.
All right. Well, Jeff, thank you for sitting down with us and chatting with us today about
pleasure.
this amazing film. You have an amazing filmography, first of all. I mean,
Thanks.
I can say, Midnight Special was my favorite film from earlier this
Ah,
year.
you're the one that saw it.
I mean,
so
but
happy.
it was great. What do you think about the current state of independent film? Because you've kind of sat in this whole world and the changing finances and the way things are changing for filmmakers.
Yeah, well, it's a multi-headed conversation. If you're talking about how to write and finance is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking about how to distribute, that's another. For me, I've always written something that I cared about. And I've always tried to find an emotion at the heart of my films that deeply affects me. And I haven't really thought about success as a concept that I probably should.
Well, you've had a lot of success despite that.
Well, thank you.
So
you.
keep doing what you're doing, obviously. You mentioned that, everything that you make is something that's personal. You are from Little Rock, went to
Yes.
Little Rock Central High, where the
did.
iconic pictures of Elizabeth
They were
Epplefort.
hanging up in the hallways.
I mean, so how much of that was part of your thinking when you decided, I'm going to do Loving next? This is not an easy one to try and hit out of the park, obviously.
Well, it's so funny you say that because I think it is. It was such a no-brainer.
Really?
But,
You're fearless.
well, I don't know about that. But, part of it is growing up in Little Rock and going to Little Rock Central High, when they approached me about Loving, I didn't know about it.
Mm.
And that was upsetting. This should be part of our American history. Why don't I know about this? And why don't others know about it? And so that actually became kind of an instigating factor in my decision. Then obviously you get into the fact that, oh my God, these are two beautiful people that love each other and they weren't allowed to love each other. And then you get angry about that and you just, you kind of can't help yourself but get wrapped up in it. That's the way I felt coming out of the documentary. But also as a storyteller, there's this whole other component of, well, how would I do it?
Mm-hmm.
And I was immediately struck by what a film that sticks with their point of view would be like.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you say that you're creating these stories and you want to, I don't know what the word is. I'm gonna paraphrase and just say that you're interested in unique storytelling, but there's also a certain part about you as a director that's sort of unique, is that you keep getting these actors. You can't keep Michael Shannon away from your sets at this point, right?
No.
Like you have to beat him off. What do you think about your style that encourages these actors? Because this is your second time working with Joel. They keep wanting to come back with you, and they all say, it's the way that you approach filmmaking.
Well, we don't have much time for my aw shucks faux humbleness. It's the writing.
Mm-hmm.
I spend a lot of time on these scripts, and I think a lot about character behavior when I'm writing them. The last thing I want to have is an actor come up to me and say, I don't think I would do this, or I don't understand why I'm doing this. Now it happens, of course it happens, but what I try and do is make sure that the characters aren't acting the way that we want them to act, but just making sure they act in a logical way and that the behavior is there on the page. Because it's not always about dialogue, so that the touch or a look is there and an actor can read that and understand it. That's what I hope. I think that's what I've kind of gathered from the actors that I've worked with.
Yeah, it's very much so in this film. There's so many quiet moments that just resonate so much within the characters. You've taken the film now to Cannes, Toronto, and soon to the Austin Film Festival, which is also where I'm from, Hook 'em Horns.
Great.
Yes,
That's where I live.
I know that. So, greatest city in my opinion. But what has it been like taking the film to these different audiences? Because, the French Cannes audience is definitely going to react very differently than now taking it to the South.
I'm excited about the South. But also that's because that's where I'm from, and so I feel like I identify with certain things in films, and when I show my movies there, they're just received differently. Cannes was interesting. Cannes felt a little strange because it's a film built out of, or a festival built out of auteur theory. Mm-hmm. So they were looking at all the decisions of the film as decisions that I made, and I got a little annoyed because it felt like it dismissed the importance of the decisions Richard and Mildred made. Mm. This is their story. This isn't mine. Warner Brothers very graciously marketed Midnight Special as a Jeff Nichols film, and I didn't really want this one marketed that way. We'll do what I'll have to do in order to get it out into the world, but this is their story. they're the ones that made these decisions, and let's not take away the harrowing nature of those decisions because you think a filmmaker calculated it. But they still liked it. They stood and clapped, and
Yeah.
I was very appreciative. But Toronto was a great audience too. It's amazing watching those final title cards come up, and I won't say which one, but you know which one, and there's just an audible gasp, and because that's the way I felt. It's like people just get punched in the stomach.
And it hurts a little.
It should hurt.
Yeah, it moved me, and thinking about it now still moves me. And so thank you for sitting down with us, but I have to sign off with this. We're a nerd site, so I have to ask everyone this. What's your super secret nerdy behavior that you keep silent?
Man.
Writing fan fiction on websites nobody knows about?
No, I wish. No. Man, I can't do it's funny. What is my biggest... I just keep thinking about my brother. My brother has a really nerdy thing, but I can't throw him under the nerd
No,
bus.
you can throw him under the nerd bus. Come on.
Well, he's really big into Dungeons & Dragons.
Yes. I love tabletop.
And Ren Fairs.
Yes. No, that is... Our audience is going to love that, so
There you
don't
go.
even...
Now, you guys will have to go figure out which brother I'm talking about. But
Oh, dang. I'm going to get you at the Austin Film Festival or somewhere to give me that answer, though.
I hope so.
All right.
Oh, there's some nerd stuff. floating
Okay.
around.
Thanks, Jeff.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Joel, thanks for sitting down with us. Congratulations on the film. It was beautiful, by the way.
Thank you.
So, the story of the Lovings is a big story for civil rights, but the film Loving is a really small, intimate tale about, just two people falling in love. How difficult was it to keep the performance, as intimate as it is in the film as opposed to the grand, sweeping, romantic one that, some might be tempted to do?
Well, I think that the key was that, we had the Nancy Bursky's documentary, which was a great research tool for Ruth and I and Jeff to strive for the authenticity that the film now has. Jeff's mantra, in my mind, Jeff's mantra was that if you're going to tell a true story, you may as well tell it truthfully. Now, what happened with Richard and Mildred was very gentle in many ways. They fell in love, and then their civil rights kind of movement, if you could call it, or their involvement in the civil rights seismic shift was a 9-year kind of slow and yet very oppressive situation that wasn't marked by blood or extreme kind of flashes of violence. So in many ways it's gone under the radar of awareness, and so in many ways the film feels kind of like it's got a real rhythm and pace to it. But that adds up to a weight of oppression that you realise at the end, you're like, this couple should not have endured this. And in that way, that authentic approach that Jeff's taken, I think is the right approach, because you realise how quietly certain people throughout the world suffer in silence, and that injustice creates a sort of a muted approach to life for a lot of people, which is very sad.
Yeah, and I would say when we spoke with Jeff, he mentioned that, he didn't know the Loving story, growing up in the South, and that's, tragic and kind of what inspired him to do the film. This is your second time working with Jeff. The first time was with Midnight Special, after which you went and did The Gift, sitting, director, writer, all of that. How is it different coming back to him in Loving, now knowing the challenges that directors, especially indie directors, face?
Well, definitely every time I get behind the camera, I always learn something new about the challenges of a director or a producer, and I think that's always great for an actor. Well, it's always great for anybody to experience someone else's point of view on life, whether it's anything.
Yeah.
But definitely coming back to being just an actor. And having the smaller responsibilities felt great. My concern was I thought that I would be too aware of the mechanics of how the movie was being made, but I just was like, I'm happy just to do this job and know that I'm in the incredible safe hands of a guy like Jeff, And no doubt, as I was leading up to making a movie, I was definitely sort of subliminally cherry-picking the good and bad from all the people that I'd worked with, had the honour of working with, and Jeff definitely has more a lot more good to cherry pick than bad.
Yeah, I mean, that's why you guys keep coming back. I mean, you can't keep Michael Shannon off his sets, I guess, at this point. Like, he's going to have to, like, be like, no, you can't do this next one, but I doubt that'll happen.
Yeah, no. Jeff's with him they're married for
I mean,
life.
seriously, though.
Yeah.
I will say, you know, your portrayal of Richard is a lot more difficult than some people would realize because, again, he was obviously very in love with his wife, but his role in the, I guess you would say, the conflict was, you know, he was less comfortable than Millie. They were both uncomfortable, but he was the most uncomfortable. How is that trying to portray that, but then still make it seem that, again, these two people are very passionately in love?
It was important to understand where Richard drew the line in the sand without it ever feeling like he was going to back down. That while he wasn't really kind of ready to fight, it was really about picking out and illuminating the understanding that he wanted to fight, he just didn't know his way around this monolithic structure known as the law and what it said. I love that his intuition told him that something wasn't right, and he wished he had the ability to kind of joust with words with these people, but he just didn't know how. And the line that he drew on the sand was that he wouldn't unmarry this woman. And I think that said so much about his conviction, his strength, and his love, and yet the real strength in that relationship was coming from Mildred.
Yeah.
She was the one willing to go, okay, here's the line in the sand, but I'm going to cross it.
Yeah.
I'm going to reach out for some more help. You know, are you coming with me? And he was like, oh.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for sitting down and chatting with us today. Again, congratulations on the film and much luck with the premiere and also, hopefully, award season.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Ruth, thank you for sitting down with us.
Thank you.
So, this is a beautiful film, and the story of the Lovings is a big film for civil rights. But it's the film Loving is a really small, intimate tale of two people falling in love. Can you talk about how you guys kept that performance as intimate and as grounded as you did when you guys were filming it?
Well, a lot of credit goes to Jeff, really. I mean, you know, his script, when I first read it, it was so quiet and lean and devoid of fat, no excess. Do you know what I mean? And I really felt that he'd written something that, but in the silences, I could hear like volumes, you know. So it may seem like a quiet film, but I think in the silences, I think there's so much unspoken that resonates, you know, with people. You know, and I think that all three of us, and indeed the whole cast and crew, knew that we were making something very special and we wanted to honor these people and do them justice. You know, and Joel often talks about it like we were carrying like a very, very old, important piece of, I don't know, like a vase or just important piece of history, you know, together. And it really felt like that we were doing this together. And there wasn't much, we didn't chat about what we were going to do, not much dialogue. And in a weird way, that kind of, we reflected their relationship because they didn't, you know, they were quite quiet people. They were farming people, you know, and they were people of few words. And I think that there was very little chat, you know, because it wasn't necessary.
Yeah, and you mentioned about their shyness because I think that would be sort of a hard thing to portray is how much they veered away from the spotlight and how, I know in your research you watched the Nancy documentary of those two. Was there anything in that documentary that you saw between their relationship as a couple where you were like, this really speaks to their relationship together?
Oh, all of it. You know,
Yeah.
Nancy's documentary is priceless in how it shaped my performance, and I think and Joel's as well. You know, I mean, not only the footage that she put together, but there's that she manages to sort of reflect their energy through the whole documentary, and a feeling. She creates a great sense of the time, the atmosphere, as well. Very much so in creating Mildred physically, I relied on that documentary like a Bible. I mean, I studied it like one would study a Bible at Sunday school. Yeah.
And it shows in your performance. I mean, you embody her so much on screen.
Well, I didn't want to just do sort of a surface layered sort of kind of imitation, because that would be silly and I wouldn't enjoy that and it wouldn't do the film service, neither the couple. So I kind of tried to look for their spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't hard because this couple are full of spirit. Yeah, so.
No, I was
Felt
just
very
going to say,
blessed.
yeah, you did an amazing job,
Thank
obviously.
you.
I mean, the film made me cry. It moved me in so many different ways in those quiet moments. So now that you've spent this time with Millie and Richard and their love, what
Did you call her Millie?
Millie?
I love that.
I mean, you know, that's,
love that.
I mean,
I love
you know,
that.
Mildred, but Millie.
that's how close you got to them.
I mean, I feel that, yeah. How do you feel they would relate to the contradictions of today? Because yes, we have marriage equality, but there's still so much discrimination against interfaith, interracial, and, you know, same-sex couples. It's sort of, you know, we live in this very contradicting time.
Well, I wouldn't want to speak for them, you know. But I think that they contributed so much to the evolution of society. I think perhaps they'd be a bit saddened. But I think, I'm not really sure. I think we need to sort of learn from them in a way, like their sort of tenacity. And I think what I take from it is that if you're shy or quiet, don't be afraid to speak up, because you know your voice can be listened to. You know, it can be heard. Just they're testament to that. You know.
Very much so. Well, thank you so much for
Thank
speaking with
you.
us, and very good luck on the film.
Cheers.
And hopefully through the awards season.
Thank you.
Yes. Thanks.
Nice to see you again.
I know. It's good seeing
See
you
you,
again.
darling.
I'll see you in August.